Well, Adnan Abu Hasna is a spokesperson for the UN Agency for Palestinian Refugees, or UNRWA. He joins us now live from Rafah. Good to have you with us. So today, like many other days, we're hearing more reports of residential buildings being hit, a refugee camp in Jabalia being hit again. What sort of carnage is this creating from what you can tell from, I assume you still have operations on the ground there?
Yes, I believe that destroying, Jabalia camp again and again, will result in more frustration, more anger, more panic. Actually, as we see in your report, that people they don't know where to go. Actually, everything has been destroyed. Yes, we have some colleagues still, providing services in health clinic and in the shelters. We have nearly, I'm talking about across the Gaza Strip, we have nearly 1.2 million internally displaced persons in our shelters across the Gaza Strip. Some of them are in Jabalia area and in Gaza City. I can tell you that the humanitarian situation now, it's not a catastrophe. We are talking about humanitarian tsunami, actually. These areas, people lack of everything, lack of food, drinkable water, even hospitals, they're partially working. Now they don't have the capacity to receive fatalities or injured people across the northern part of Gaza.
Adnan, I'm wondering, because I know usually UNRWA has channels of communication for Israel. Has UNRWA requested that Israeli forces cease bombing civilian areas, refugee camps? And what kind of response do you get?
We are sending to all parties of the conflict, or the location, the exact location of the GPS and of our shelters, our health clinics, and to the Israeli side, So no one can tell us after that we don't know that you have, tens of thousands of people sheltering and these schools all the time. We are sending twice the exact location to the Israeli army. Actually, we don't receive responses.
And despite that, Adnan, there have been reports of UNRWA schools having been hit in places like Jabalia refugee camp, right?
Yes, of course. And Al Fakhura school, as example, it had been hit, I believe, twice or three times, all the time. But in all over Gaza, across the Gaza Strip, we have 85, installations, including shelters that had been hit. 30 of them had been hit directly and resulted in the killing of 218 people and injured nearly 900 people. From our staff as UNRWA, as UN staff, nearly 130 staff had been killed since the start of this escalation.
Has UNRWA ever experienced something like this, Adnan?
Never, ever. We never experienced, something like that. Even the UN itself, nothing happened like that in the UN history, that 130 staff of the UN employees had been killed in 50 days. It never happened. I personally, I am with UNRWA, and I survived 3 wars before that. It's horrible. It's something unbelievable. The amount of destruction, people that had been killed and injured. I'm looking at some figures of that coming from Ukraine about how many people that had been, killed. I mean, civilians. Last August, they are talking about 9,000 people, 9,000 civilians that had been killed, and 16,000 that had been injured. Now we are talking in Gaza about 60,000 people that had been killed or injured or missed, actually. No one can rescue them. They are under the rubble. You are talking about 3% of Gaza population that had been killed and injured. If you have a country of 50 million people, you will talk about 1.5 million people that had been, killed and injured. It's unbelievable what's going on.
We know during the humanitarian ceasefire or pause that happened, aid was being delivered. Is aid still being delivered today? And if so, are you able to distribute it at a time when it's becoming more and more desperate because people are being pushed into smaller and smaller areas in the south and everything is becoming, there's a shortage of everything we're hearing, from toilets to drinking water?
Yes, there's a glimpse of hope during the humanitarian pause that we succeeded, to send, food, medicines, and fuel to the northern part of Gaza Strip. But unfortunately, after it ended, we went again to square number one, where huge shelling and destruction, and many people had been injured. Nearly 700 people had been killed since the end of the humanitarian pause. Now they are pushing, people not only to the south, pushing people to the south of the south. So we expected that we will have in Rafah here more than 1 million people, in the coming days. Actually, now we have tens of thousands of families in the streets. They are erecting, random things, pieces of nylon and wood. It's raining now, and we will see the disaster after.
So if I understand you correctly, you're unable, no aid is coming in at this point. Is that what you're saying, as these people sleep under nylon in the rain?
No. To the northern part and Gaza City, we are not sending anymore because the Israelis, they are cutting off all the roads. But, aid is coming through Rafah crossing point. We are talking about an average of 50 trucks. It's about 5% only of the needed trucks or the needed aid that we use to get through Kerem Shalom. But why? Because, Rafah crossing point is not built up for, commercial crossing point. It's for big trains only. So the capacity of Rafah crossing point will never meet the needs of Gaza population. Now we are getting 50 trucks, 60 trucks, 70 trucks, and they want us to distribute it to more than 2 million people. I believe we will continue like that, that the humanitarian work in the Gaza Strip will collapse very soon.
All right, thank you so much, Adnan Abu Hasna there.